It's another milestone for me. It's for the 30th time I get to say welcome to Under the Middle Rope. I'm your host, Jose Tawada. It is episode 30. 30 episodes in, and believe it or not, and I feel like I say this at every milestone, and I feel like I have to say it again. But when I started this in March, you obviously wonder how long you're going to go for, and the fact that I've already surpassed the amount of episodes I've done when I was in college, it's already special. So 30 is a really big milestone. So thank you to all if you've been watching, subscribe, whatever it is, become a patron. All of that just goes such a long way, and it's just nice to know that there are people enjoying this, that are people watching this, and even though it's so small, it's still a lot of fun to do, and it's still a lot of fun to talk wrestling. So thank you if at any point you tuned in these last 30 episodes as we continue to push forward with the podcast. Of course, this past Sunday was WWE Hell in a Cell, so it is our Fallout episode. And I say this in a discussion, so technically I am repeating myself here, but it amazes me that WWE can throw a pay-per-view like what makes it feel like last minute, just suddenly thrown in there, and yet somehow be decent. And Hell in a Cell wasn't too bad, at least from my perspective. So of course we get right into that. Pete, RJ, they're all back, and of course you see a new Under the Middle Rope champion crown after our last predictions champ. Nick asked to relinquish it because he was busy, and personally I'm a big fan of the champ. Spoiler alert, I'm just gonna leave it at that I think that the new champ is a really, really nice guy and a really solid dude, and I think he deserves it. So the only thing that I can say is just sit back, relax, and enjoy our Hell in a Cell Fallout. Hey everybody, welcome to the discussion. Pete, RJ, they're back, and of course I thank them for being part of the 30th episode of Under the Middle Rope. Ooh. 30 episodes, we made it to 30. Look
milestone.
At that. I know.
You know who won at WrestleMania 30?
Good old Daniel Bryan, the underdog.
I was Brock Lesnar.
Oh wow.
I was
thinking John Cena.
I was also thinking Daniel Bryan, but I mean, I switched it. John Cena, yeah. Who did he face Rusev at that show, right? Am I wrong on that one?
No,
Cena. Wyatt. Yeah.
Rusev the year after it.
A different burial.
Embrace the hit.
Yeah.
Regardless, gentlemen, 30 episodes. We've had fun. Obviously, there's more fun to come as time goes on, but 30 episodes is pretty special. So thank you guys for being a part of it. It's Fallout. As I said in the introduction, it's Fallout, Hell in a Cell Fallout. And of course, I feel like once again, a pay-per-view that was just poorly built, a pay-per-view that just felt thrown together, ended up being not that bad. Not that bad. But of course, we go to the predictions. And for the first time since WrestleMania back in March, the first prediction show we did, now I can pull up a physical belt instead of putting up a little graphic. But there's a graphic anyways, but it's me.
That thing's nice, eh? It's just blinged out.
It's really nice. Yeah. It's me. It's JAT. Look at that bling. Let's go to the predictions tablet. Instead of I forget that or the program that we use, you can just simply throw it on. RJ did bad. RJ's was a fun disaster at one point. I won with 4 points. I only got Drew McIntyre wrong, which surprised the heck out of us. Pete getting Bailey, Hardy, McIntyre wrong. Tiebreaker wasn't needed at the end of the day, but if we did have to go to the tiebreaker, it would have went to Pete, as the match was about 26 minutes, I believe. Is that what we said, Pete?
Yeah, 26-30 odd. It was only got to me between me and you, so if Bailey had won that match, I would have won, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, so I should have... Oh, if I tied, I would have actually won the tiebreaker this time.
You would have. Yeah. You had the tiebreaker time.
Yeah.
For once.
That's what I was saying. The only reason Jose's saying I would have won is because it did come down to that match. So if Bailey had won that match, it would have swung.
Yes.
Well, regardless, I can bring out the physical title again because obviously I'm not going to ship to see you guys whenever you guys win it. So all you get was a little graphic. I should create an actual Under the Middle Rope Championship graphic, but this is fun. This is lots of fun. I'm gonna put it down.
I was gonna say, just gonna hug that for the next 45 minutes.
Is there a more annoying Jose than winning Jose? I feel like it is the worst.
To be okay, in my defense, it doesn't happen often. This is the first time since WrestleMania. WrestleMania was back in April.
So how many times have you been champ now, Jose?
2.
And how many times have I been champ?
Enough.
2, I think. And how many times has RJ been champ?
once?
I am a one-time champion.
Just
Thank you very
one,
much.
right? Just the one.
I'm a one-time champion.
Well, of course, the next time I defend that will be Survivor Series. Everybody likes a good Survivor Series, of course, as the build has already started for Raw versus SmackDown. But we're not going to talk about that. You know, Survivor Series will come in the coming weeks. But for now, yes, we're talking about Hell in a Cell, and we're going to open up with the least most important match on this card. By least important, I mean didn't matter a damn bit. Elias and Jeff Hardy. Elias wins by disqualification after Jeff Hardy slammed him with the guitar. We joked around last week saying that we're going to expect a guitar match at some point. It's probably going to happen. But I don't know. I have nothing to say. It sucked. Like it was just a filler. It was just
it was there.
RJ, no, anything?
Yeah, it just happened. I mean, like, it was pretty much exactly what we thought happened. I actually thought this was going to end up being a clean finish, but actually after watching the match, it's like, oh yeah, of course he's just going to smash him over the back with the guitar. But I thought it would be the other way around if that happened. So I thought Jeff was going to win that match by disqualification if that happened. So I mean, this one did catch me by surprise on the prediction show. But I mean, what are they going to have, a guitar and a pole match soon? They have to.
That's what we joked around, and I feel like it's inevitable. Pete?
Yeah, I'm not even sure I really watched this match. I think I was still focused on the match that happened before this, because nothing in it gripped me whatsoever. Like I mentioned before, I hate disqualification finishes on a pay-per-view. It just feels so cheap, so worthless. And this didn't benefit either person. Elias won, but looks like an absolute chump. Jeff looks like an absolute idiot because he's maybe the face and got himself disqualified. If it's the other way around, it kind of makes sense. But a face just getting himself disqualified so stupidly, it's a bit crap. It's a Raw TV match, or was a SmackDown TV match, but it's now a Raw TV match, and that's what it felt like. And I don't even get the point because they then jobbed out Elias on Raw pretty much the night after. So, and Jeff lost on Raw the night after as well. So, what was
I mean, if you want to talk about dropping out, I mean, now that we can just move on from this because there wasn't really else. I mean, just really quickly, I mean, I didn't even want to bring it up, but I figured, once Pete said that, I'm like, there's a worse example of dropping out as Retribution. I don't know where the hell this is going, but
they're dead.
Quick United States title match. Lashley versus, who was it? Slapjack? Hall of Famer Slapjack? Was that his name? Yeah, whoever it was. Really,
Slapjack's the smaller one, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's the one with the mask, yeah. The one with like the full face.
Oh, the full face. Point is,
T-Bar has died to COVID, right? That's what we're.
Yeah, and Mace is.
The reason why I bring this up, viewers of Under the Middle Rope, is just simply because this is just another example of poor stuff. Retribution has become the biggest joke of WWE, and we move on to the something else.
Match. They literally haven't won a match.
Not a damn thing. Oh, Ali, this. Ali, oh my God, it's Ali. Wear it. Whatever. Just point is,
they just lose. They just lose, Jose. Why did they just lose?
Yo no sé. Yo qué voy a saber. Yo qué sé lo que se necesita por ahí. All right, let's move on. So let's.
Now he's making up languages to try and do.
Wow. Wow. Spanish, ladies and gentlemen. Spanish was the language we were looking for today. But let's move on to a match that piqued our interest. The Money in the Bank match. Not a ladder match, but a match for the Money in the Bank briefcase. The Miz capturing his first Money in the Bank championship since 2010. When he won the ladder match back then. He takes it off of Otis after Tucker, of all people, slammed him across the head with the briefcase, and Miz took advantage of it, got excited. He's now Money in the Bank, and frankly, just a few hours removed. We tape these on Tuesdays, 48 hours removed, and it already feels like a much better rejuvenized Money in the Bank situation because it's the Miz, who's charismatic as heck, and this is something that at least for me, I'm excited to see moving forward with the Miz. I mean, the match was what it was. I'm just more excited at the fact that it's off Otis. It's finally off Otis. I was saying this for a long time, saying that as exciting as hilarious as it was when it happened, I remember we were reacting, laughing that Otis won the briefcase, turned into this really big joke, this dead on arrival situation. It looked like it was going nowhere, and finally it's in the hands of somebody who I'm very excited for, and I thought was going to cash in the evening, later on in the evening. Obviously, it didn't happen, and we're going to talk about that later on. But Pete, let's start with you. Your thoughts on the Miz being Mr. Money in the Bank for the second time.
Well, it's obviously a much bigger improvement to Otis, but it wouldn't have been my first choice but I'm glad it did switch hands. I didn't expect it to, because apparently loads of people have been pitching backstage ideas to get the case off Otis, and Vince kept shooting them down. But apparently now they did. I still think AJ Styles was a logical choice straight afterwards, and they could have basically almost run the exact same feud and then passed it on to him. I think that would have been a much more sensible one. But Tucky! And Raw brand Tucky, or who might now be back on SmackDown, who may have switched, and who knows, and I don't understand what. But he was your friend, Tucker. He was your friend. And Otis doesn't have many friends.
No.
Bad guys don't get many friends, but when we do, we value and treasure them, and we don't expect to be betrayed.
But he has Mandy.
For
Does he
how
though?
long?
Because
For how
she's
long,
a
Jose?
different brand. She's
Angel Garza's
over
already
there
putting in the work
like
on Raw.
Drew McIntyre. How could yeah, the bastard people. And also post-match, Miz cut a great promo. And Tucker cut the classic crap tag team breakup promo 101 of, oh, I was the one who was carrying this team. Oh, I was never treated properly with the respect deserved. Blah. And it was just rubbish. And I haven't been this little invested in a WWE heel turn probably since the last random WWE heel turn. So yeah.
RJ? Yeah, when they put the title, or not the title, the belt, or the case on Otis to begin with, I was like, okay, this is like different. This is nice. I do think Otis is somebody who like seriously like did not benefit from having a crowd. I think that coming into WrestleMania with the whole Mandy story and like with the Royal Rumbles and everything, he was getting like, pretty over as with the crowd. And I think that they might not have went in this direction if there was still a crowd. Like when he won the Money in the Bank briefcase, they must not have thought that we'd be crowdless for this long, because Otis's character just doesn't work at all. He's just going around doing the worm to no reaction. So like he just needs the crowd to like feed off and for his character to work. So I feel like they must have hoped or thought that we'd be getting one back sometime soon. So he's somebody who really like he ate it with like he's not having a crowd really did not help. So the only thing with this is what I really would have liked to see this go on AJ Styles instead of the Miz, like Pete said, or somebody who was maybe even in the match. That's kind of the whole thing. It's like Miz had the whole he doesn't deserve the case, but he wasn't in the match to begin with. So that also just kind of never sat well with me to begin with. So like AJ, if Otis is going to lose the case, it should have been AJ or to like somebody else who's in the match. Even like Baron Corbin might have made even more sense.
Yeah,
I'm glad it wasn't him, but it might have made a little more sense storyline wise. But
AJ was still the logical one because AJ was the one who had it in his hands and dropped it. So I was like, well, he could have actually made the legal case that I was holding the case first. And he could have actually probably even argued that, and you could have had a match for it, which would have made sense having a match for it. And
yeah, but like,
Otis is a great mid-card face, but that's where he should be. He's a mid-card face that you can get on board with and cheer, and you need those characters, but they just shouldn't be in the title picture.
And like the way it happened, Tucker turning, they're on different shows now. Like they've already split up.
No, they're not.
So like it just doesn't make. It just doesn't like make.
Yeah, they're the turn. Like I think, like we said, I think they're bringing Tucker back to SmackDown.
Are they like? Has that been like? Is that a thing? Like, has that been announced?
Apparently, we're not.
So
I don't know. Someone posted in our group chat fairly like about an hour or two ago that apparently Tucker's been moved back to SmackDown.
Beautiful. That's something they did.
It kind of makes the brand split feel really stupid.
Like I just kind of thought that maybe they'd both just be on the like respective like Raw and SmackDown teams, and that would be like when they do their big face off is at Survivor Series, and that's all we were, and that's all we were gonna get out of it, which is also like kind of silly. But it's just why like it's already been split up. Like now, if you're gonna put them back, it just doesn't make any sense. And then the stupid heel promo afterwards, it's like Otis needs me because he can't tie his shoes and. All that jazz. It's like, and then I'm cool with the Miz having the case. I think that he'll be a good character to have the case. Storyline wise, I think it just would have made a little more sense if you put it on somebody who was in the match. And obviously, the way that Miz got jobbed out to Drew the next night, like, is he really a serious contender for that title with the guys that are holding the belts these days, like the Romans and the Ortons and the Drews? Like, is Miz really even that much more of a serious contender for that title than Otis?
I guess the other one on that is it's classic WWE. They always job out the person who's holding the briefcase. They just go on a losing streak, and then randomly they win the
And
belt.
then they randomly win.
Start
Yeah.
winning.
I mean,
They start winning again, and you don't understand why.
let the record stand that when the Miz was having this huge feud with Daniel Bryan, which it's not a bad feud looking back. There were a lot of people calling for the Miz to be champion again because of the work that he was doing.
Oh yeah, I'm happy for the Miz to be champion.
And personally, the Miz feels like a guy that should be at least a two-time champ by now. Like his descent from the main event scene just felt like out of nowhere, just kind of happened. So
it kind of needed to.
It kind of needed to, but and then he focused on being technically one of the quote unquote, I say quote unquote, emphasize a lot on that, being the one of the greatest Intercontinental champions. And again, I say quote unquote because it could be argued, but Miz does have a lot of IC title reigns. He was focused on the IC title, but I get the argument of why you want to give the Miz that position. And I mean, what I was saying is that, okay, the briefcase comes to Raw, and the WWE champion is the more convincing champion to cash in on because Roman is just too damn strong. He's on a big high right now. And I guess compared between Drew and Orton, I would 100% do it to Drew. Of course, everybody instantly reminded each other on social media 10 years ago today. It was Miz as the Money in the Bank holder, Orton as the WWE champion, and then in November, Miz cashing in and finally becoming champion. So it's not out of the question because we've seen it before. Obviously, it's two different eras. But and for the record, just to back up RJ's point and I think Pete's point as well about who in that match could have deserved it. AJ Styles, Aleister Black, Daniel Bryan, King Corbin, and Rey Mysterio were in that Money in the Bank ladder match back in May. So you could argue anyone that's not Corbin. That could have been
Ray.
I wouldn't put it on Ray either. No.
Maybe not Ray. Okay, I just thought booyaka, big guy likes to fly. Why not?
Styles or Black would have both been good choices.
I would have. I think my pick would have been. I mean, probably Styles because I feel like Styles is a guy who would be great with a briefcase. But Daniel Bryan is also another guy who I wouldn't mind seeing two-time. And if I'm not mistaken, Miz is the third person.
Four-time champ.
No, I mean two-time Money in the Bank briefcase holder.
Oh right, I think he meant to be a two-time champion.
No. And if I'm not mistaken, the Miz I believe now joins CM Punk and Edge as the third two-time Money in the Bank holder. I could be wrong, but he's in some pretty elite company now.
Cena had it twice, didn't he?
Did he? No, I thought
he only had one.
He won it once, and then he won the Money in the Bank match. That was for the title. That's what it was.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Okay, so interesting thoughts there, and of course we're going to move on to more deeper thoughts. And I'm trying to figure out what to talk about first because each of them has such many, sorry.
Just go in order.
We'll go in order. Okay, we'll go in order. We're gonna start with the one that I feel like could be I probably will have the most talk because I will tell you right now, Pete and RJ had two very conflicting thoughts on this match. It was the first of 3 Hell in a Cells. It opened up the night surprisingly, shocked the hell out of us that it opened the night. Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Universal title. Roman getting Jey to say I quit. The match. I'm gonna say first that it technically did go on longer than we anticipated. I believe that was, I'm just looking it up now. It was a 29 minutes and 20-second match. I mean, I thought it was
longer than that.
I thought it was longer, yeah. But the match involved a lot of psychological warfare. It wasn't a traditional Hell in a Cell, violent, slam him across the cage match. It was more about hey, dude, like Roman, once again, similar to the Clash of Champions main event, telling him, don't do this, quit now. Don't get hurt by me, dude. Trust me. And then he just kept going in and in and in. And then eventually it got crazier. He had a whole bunch of officials come in. Then he had Jimmy come running in saying, please don't. And then Roman choking out Jimmy, which caused Jey to say, I quit. This is despite the crazy lashes, crazy assaults and whatnot. But nonetheless, Roman is still your Universal Champion as expected. He's going into Survivor Series to take on Randy Orton, which we'll talk about later. But RJ, I'm going to start with you on this because I really want to go to you first. Your thoughts on the whole thing and just on the whole concept of the match.
Yeah, so I don't know, guys. Like, I really was looking like both of these past two main events these guys have had. I'm really looking forward to them, but there's just something about both of them that just really, really missed the mark with me. Like, I didn't like this one so much either, to be completely honest with you guys. Like, it didn't feel as violent as it was like made out to be to me. Like, I didn't think it was quite as brutal and as quite violent. Like, I know it's the whole like psychological, warfare. The tears at the end when Jimmy came out too, and I like the storytelling in that aspect. I just didn't feel like it was brutal enough. Like, they didn't need the cell to begin with. Like, that match could have happened with the cell in the air.
Yeah,
and that's something that really bugged me because they did the whole I quit thing. This is the first I quit match in the Hell in a Cell. Like, I wanted this thing to be really brutal. Like, I really wanted it to be really brutal, really violent. And he used the stairs and he uses the guillotine. And I know it was supposed to look more violent. It just didn't feel as violent to me as I think it was supposed to. And then it just kind of starts feeling more dragged out, kind of like the last match. And then the referees come in, the door opens. And then once the door opened, I thought, I'm like, okay, maybe they're going to leave the cell and then kind of start doing something crazy. But then they have Jimmy come in, and then that's how they get him to say, I quit. It just, I'm sure you guys are going to have a different opinion on this, and I'm sure Pete's going to have a much different opinion on this, but it just didn't hit the mark for me on both of these. And I think it's just time for Roman to kind of move on to something new, because I get what it was supposed to do. And I know that it worked for a lot of people. It's just, I felt like I needed to see a little more brutality. Like, I don't know if blood would have helped. I don't know if I'm just like a sicko that wanted to see like some crazy, like hardcore match, but I like a nice psychological match. It just didn't feel like this is the one that, it just didn't feel like it had to happen like this with the Hell in a Cell. Like, I feel like it could have been a lot more brutal than it was.
Pete, go ahead.
I will 100% agree with one of those points, and that this match did not need to be a Hell in a Cell match. And this match is only a Hell in a Cell match because it was Hell in a Cell, and it probably should have just been an I Quit match. So I 100% agree on that side. I don't think this needed the cell. It shouldn't have really been a cell match. I guess my main thing is, like, I'm very into the psychological storytelling side of wrestling, and I care way more about that than actually what happens in the ring in a lot of the cases. I'm way more invested in the storyline than I am in an actual how good was this match from a technical standpoint, or was there enough violence and stuff. I'm just more into the story. So that's probably why this is really great for me. I will also say it. I know I said like Roman is the guy who I would let mount me and that, but I did not expect the amount of sexual tension that was going on in this match. We had some tying up, we had some whipping, we had all that choking going on while they were begging for more and not using their safe word to get out of it.
Using their safe word.
And not even to mention Roman repeatedly using his massive tackle.
Sure. Kids,
like,
go to school.
Anyway, I think there were a few brutal spots in this. I think the choke out with the strap looked great. Like,
yeah,
I legit at one point thought he was genuinely really struggling to breathe there. I thought the drive-by with the steps looked brutal.
Oh, it looked great. That was my point. That, like, I saw that spot. I'm like, oof.
Yeah.
Ooh, that looks good. Painful, but good. Yeah.
The only one part of this match I really didn't like was all the officials coming in and trying to stop the match.
Yeah.
I really dislike that, because this is meant to be an I Quit match. It's there for a reason. That's the stipulation. Like, Roman throwing the ref out the ring and trying to stop him. I was like, well, yeah, he's right. It's an I Quit match. This is what they signed up for. You don't just stop it because one guy's been beaten down too much.
Yeah.
Like, you could have had the door open in a different way. You could have had like one referee try to like get him back off and kill that referee, and the second referee just leave the door open. You didn't need all those officials out there trying to look like idiots. But in ring perspective, this wasn't anything special. Storyline standpoint, for me, this was a work of art. Unbelievably good. Like, I've just got nothing else. Bravo. Didn't need the cell, but a perfectly executed I Quit match. I love the idea that Jay would not quit at all to save himself, but he would quit to save his brother. Because I was like, I don't know how you're going to get Jay to quit because it's storyline purposes, but save his brother that just makes so much sense. And I love the little closing touch of Afa and Sika at the end. Yeah, and I think they should have main evented just for that closing shot, with him stood there with Afa and Sika, and Jay and Jimmy sat in the ring, looking devastated, staring it down, as basically their own family members were honoring Roman as well. I just thought beautifully done.
See, I think if the cell was in the air, I might have a better reaction to this match. I think a lot of it came into me thinking that they were going to use the cell to like kind of brutalize Jay in this one, and I think having the cell as a part of it and them not really using or caring for it at all, I think that might have
actually use it.
I don't
Like,
think
even,
Not
even
really.
like even like
Not really at
throwing
all.
someone into the side.
No.
I think there was a spot where Jay did like a dive to the outside and like pushed Roman into the cage, but I think that's really all they did with it. I was expecting like a spear through it or something like that. Like I was really expecting something big that they were going to use to sell. Obviously, they did that in the later match. Like they did that in the main event, which ends up being fine. But I kind of thought it would be reversed and they would do that, something like that in this match. But then when this match went on first, I'm like, okay, well, they're probably not going to leave the cell in this one. So I just think if the cell wasn't there, I might have had a better reaction to this.
I think they could have probably done a couple of spots with like maybe just like one of them like stomping the other one's face into the cell and stuff like that on the side of it, just to, even if you're not going to go outside, at least properly trying to like brutalize in the corner of the cell, maybe like trying to pin them in and stuff like that might have been useful. So I kind of agree with that regard. But just in terms of an I Quit match, if I ignore the Hell in a Cell actually exists,
For sure,
I think it's just done so
Yeah,
well.
and so this is where I'm gonna like intervene here, and because I see both sides. I do. Well, normally that's how I am, just in life. But I do agree the fact that if the cell wasn't there, I think I would have appreciated more, because the buildup especially was emphasizing a lot on Roman saying you don't want to do this, you don't want to do this. So my interpretation, going inside Hell in a Cell. And again, like I was binging some Hell in a Cell matches leading up to Sunday, and I'm just reminding myself of like, what that match is supposed to be. Hell literally inside a structured cell, a structured chain link cell, and we've seen some of the most incredible brutal spots in the history of WWE, throwing off cells, stuff on fire, dump tacks. The list goes on and on and on and on. So when Roman's hyping up to this, I'm telling myself, okay, you're not going to get the same brutality as you did back in 1997. Absolutely not. But you can still find a way to keep it just as brutal with probably the amount of weapons they use, probably the way you throw the person in across the cell. I mean, like it's there. The cell is your weapon. Like it's the first weapon you should go to. And it just wasn't used enough, which is why it bugged me a lot. And that, to RJ's point, and which is why I felt like it dragged on. And the fact, again, that we were getting a very similar ending to last year, where we have a whole bunch of referees coming right in, hey, we got to stop this. I'm like, no, you jackasses, this is what we complained about last year, that you stopped a Hell in a Cell match. And the purpose of this match is literally for your opponent to say, I quit, not for the ref to says he quits. Two very different words there, which is why it bugged me. But go on, RJ, hold on.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, I think in a lot of matches when the ref involvement hits me like that too, it just starts to lose me. When too much ref nonsense happen like that, especially in a hardcore match or like a Hell in a Cell match, I think that's when it starts to be like, okay, like this is bullshit. Like what are we looking at?
Yeah,
like, what are we watching right now?
It's like saying, okay, it's like if you're having a Royal Rumble match and then somebody comes into somebody that's not part of the Rumble, or somebody that's already eliminated comes in to throw somebody out, the ref saying, guys, we have to stop this right now because we've had outside interference. No, guys, there's no rules. Like there's no rules, and like it's what the Hell in a Cell should be. But in saying that, this is where I agree with Pete in saying that, yeah, like Roman technically still played that great psychological game. The guy was crying for crying out loud, no pun intended. The guy bawled his eyes out. And I'm like, okay, this isn't bad. And the fact that Jimmy came in and, that was like the final straw. I'm like, okay, there's brotherly love there, And if you have siblings, sure, you don't want to see your sibling, especially your twin, getting your ass kicked by somebody who was essentially a wolf in sheep's clothing, which is what you want to describe Roman right now. So from that point, I thought it was great that Roman was like, he was starting to get a bit more brutal, but he held back. And I guess that it could also be a nagging point as well, because like, dude, you could have kept going, and he was gonna keep going had like the referees not come in. Again, kayfabe wise, I'm not talking about like logistics wise, like storyline wise. Had the refs not come in, had Jimmy not come in, Jay would have still probably got way worse. So it was getting there until the quote-unquote referees.
So a few points on that, like, because obviously before the referees came in, he was literally about to bring the steel stairs down on his head and
literally
kill him. And I don't know how that works in an I Quit. I don't know how that actually works in an I Quit match. If the guy dies and you murder him,
no pulse, but he doesn't say I quit.
Is that like a no contest?
Yeah. Like
does that really just like end the match? Or
like there was the spot earlier where Roman was getting choked out by the belt, and I'm like, he's not gonna be able to say I quit. Like, why are you stopping? Like, you keep choking. It's like keep choking him until he says it. Don't like just choke him out. And it's like, well, he can't say anything now. And the ref's like, no, he doesn't say he quits. I'm like, no shit, he doesn't say he quits. He's sleeping.
Exactly. But yeah, in a slightly more point, the bit in this match which I think really got me and was really elevating me is actually when Jimmy comes in and he starts yelling at him going, "That's Josh down there." And he starts referring to him as Josh. I was like, okay, this is one of those feuds where I quite like. I think it makes sense in this feud almost pretty for all. It's involving all the family. It's all about their family history and that. And for him, just like that little break of kayfabe, but not like too extreme. Just saying, what are you doing? This isn't you. And they're almost like embracing that this is you're embracing you becoming Roman Reigns and you're not Joe anymore. I really love that kind of like little touch on it. And I was saying to Jose beforehand, this is one of my favorite matches of the year. And I was trying to think about matches I prefer to win. There's only about 4 or 5 matches I could think of in 2020 that I prefer to this match. But I am very heavily invested in storytelling, and storytelling is like my biggest thing.
While it may not be at the end of the day, because we do got to move on. While it may not be like a big classic for me, at the end of the day, regardless of what I am very happy that we're continuing to establish Roman as a monster. This is what we needed, and I feel like since the heel turn happened at Payback or the SmackDown before Payback, I feel like we've been getting happier and happier to see Roman in this situation that he's being put in, and whether it's overdue or not. To me, I say, thank goodness Roman is a monster. This is where looks like he can finally excel, and I feel like he's been delivering and more. And I feel like he can only go up from here. Of course, he's slowly starting to turn into that Fiend character in a sense of where you can say, okay, who's the one to who does he lie down on the mat for and when? But I'm liking where it's going so far. So far, I can tolerate
Goldberg.
Jesus Christ.
Where does Roman go from here? Like, is he done with the Usos? Like, is Jimmy cleared? Could we see like one of those handicap like title matches?
You could.
Is he gonna stay like feuding with the Usos to move on to The Rock? Like, is that what they want to do here? Like, what is next for Roman?
Yeah.
I feel like that's
what I would quite like to see is a triple threat ladder match between Roman, Jay, and Jimmy at TLC.
Yeah,
I was going to say Jimmy steps in.
Jay work together, and eventually they start turning on each other as well in that match. And there's here kind of.
I was going to say Jimmy just takes Jay's spot and heads over to TLC, but we'll find. Obviously, Survivor Series is a break from everything because they desperately need to find out who has brand supremacy.
Yeah,
we'll find out. Yeah,
I feel like Jimmy just taking his place though kind of feels like a bit like pointless because if he's dispatching of one Uso pretty well, it feels a bit weird to then just dispatch the other Uso as well.
Right. We do got to move on. We do have to. We do have to move on. Unless you had one quick last point, RJ, before we move on, or no?
I was gonna say I could see them getting involved in the Orton match at Survivor Series to kind of move the feud to like a third pay-per-view where they do like a handicap or like triple threat like TLC style match where Roman obviously finishes them off. But yeah, that's all I was gonna have into that because I don't think they're done with them.
Yeah, I think it'll continue, but we do got to move on because the next one is going to be a much once again another big talking point. The Hell in a Cell SmackDown Women's Championship, Sasha Banks, Bayley, 26-35 was the final time for that match, which again would have given RJ the win if he was anywhere close to having a chance for being podcast champion. Nope. Sasha Banks becoming the next Grand Slam Women's Champion, having captured the NXT Women's Championship, the Raw Women's Championship, the Women's Tag Team Championship, and now the SmackDown. This one, I would argue, not really argue, I feel like it's fact that this was definitely the definition of a Hell in a Cell in a PG era. This was, to me, it was the best Cell match of the night. I was so happy. I was so impressed with it. I'm like, oh my goodness gracious, this is getting highly entertaining. The two women really went all out here. Again, I thought maybe they could have escaped the cage as well, but they stayed inside. They stayed inside it, and it just ended up being just greatness what they did with each other. The kendo sticks, the fire extinguisher, the table, the way that they used the table I thought was innovative, which is weird to say all these years later after watching WWE, that somehow I felt like it amazes me that nobody went on top of the table and somebody under it just pushes up. I'm like, that's brilliant. That's amazing. Wow. Do it again. But like I said, like I was just very, very impressed. I'm happy for Sasha. I mean, it got me the podcast set up. I'm just generally happy for her at the end of the day. I mean, I know it's not the situation we all wanted for her to win the SmackDown Women's title, but hey, I'll take it. I'm happy for her. The question is, actually, the positive thing is that it's going to last beyond the next pay-per-view because she has to face Asuka. She doesn't have to lose it at the next pay-per-view, so hooray.
Yeah, she gets to keep it by default
until the rematch happens on this SmackDown, and then
yeah,
it'll be like Sasha versus like who's a random SmackDown superstar that they always switch one title belt right before Survivor Series. Like there's always that one match on SmackDown.
Don't say that.
Title. And it's gonna be like Sasha versus like I don't know, Lacey Evans on Raw, right? Carmella, yeah. Like a re-debuting Carmella who's got like the new like model gimmick now.
Oh, that would suck. Oh, that'd be awful. But
and then they're gonna switch the match to Survivor Series. It depends. Is Sasha gonna beat Asuka? Is it gonna be the other way around?
Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Let's start with you, RJ, on the thoughts on the match.
Yeah, I love this match. This match is fun. I really like this match. They obviously, it just felt more like a cell match to me, and I think that was really my big issue with the first one is because I just don't feel like they needed the cell, and I feel like it probably would have. Obviously, we talked enough about that, but this one felt like a really good like hardcore Hell in a Cell match. I thought they used what they had really well. I thought they were really brutal to each other. I thought they really beat the crap out of each other. I was a big fan of this match. Obviously, I picked Bayley going in, but throughout the match, I'm like, okay, Sasha's got to win this one. Like Sasha has to take it. Like this is a really good match, and let's top it off with a face Sasha victory. And she won, and I was really happy with that. Hopefully she is able to defend her title successfully at least once, like whether it's on Raw or SmackDown or wherever it is, pay-per-view. I hope she gets at least a good solid title defense. Let's hold this at least to like WrestleMania or something. Like let's give her finally a good title reign. But yeah, I was really happy with this match. I really liked it. It's one of my favorite women's matches ever, personally.
Oh yeah, I thought it was. I mean, a lot of people have already begun to compare if this is better than the NXT Takeover one that they had. I
don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's. I feel like the two just can't be compared just because of the different kind of matches. But it was entertaining, I think. Pete.
Yeah, it's a fantastic match. Is it better than that match? Probably. Still, my favorite women's match is still Becky Lynch versus Charlotte. Evolution.
At Evolution. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
I still think that's an unbelievably good match.
Yeah, me too.
Becky versus Sasha Hell in a Cell last year was very good as well. Really
It was. Sasha delivers when it comes to Hell in a Cells.
There was Asuka and Ember on an NXT Takeover. It was really, really big. It was a big time banger too. That was awesome too.
And also the triple threat TLC match, which was Charlotte, Becky, and Asuka.
Oh yeah, that one was awesome too. There's a lot of good women's. So
there's some fantastic ones.
Gimmick matches lately.
This is probably up there. It is genuinely probably up there. But there's a few little points that dragged me down. I think some of the weapon spots were a little bit silly. Some worked really well. Some didn't. Like I don't get this whole obsession with the one chair. Like, come on, there's 20. There's like 20 of them under the ring. Just go and grab another one. Why are you so obsessed? Oh weird. My god, I managed to sneak this one in from outside the cell. Just go and grab a different.
The fact that it was beside the fact that Bayley's chair was beside the cell doors, like perfect.
The fact Bayley can't use duct tape. That's also
that. Oh my god, that had me laughing. Hey, can you help me open this up? No, I can't help you open it. I don't know why, but I had me bursting out laughter. I forgot who the referee was. Bless your soul.
That does actually make me think of a point back in the first cell match where Roman tries to throw the stairs into the ring and they just bounce off the ring. That gave me a solid laugh. That gave me a solid laugh.
Yeah, that was brilliant. But yeah, Bayley had been practicing her arts and crafts, like constructing these giant kendo sticks, and then her ladder and chair contraption in the middle of the ring where she pinned the ladder on two chairs. Like she'd been like going to work. The kendo sticks trapped between the wall and the steel stairs. Like some of the spots I think worked. Like I loved the Meteora off the table on the cell. Yep. I thought that was brilliant. As just an example. Like it was an absolutely fantastic match. And this is going to sound really weird, but I'm almost disappointed this match was so good. And that is purely because I'm now thinking that if this had been the climax of an unbelievable feud between the two, like I mentioned an idea in like our group chat beforehand of when they signed the contract, I said technically contracts can't stand if they're signed under duress. So because she was like forcing her to do it while saying it, I said Bailey should come out, just called off the match, said I'm not competing, just brought out someone else to take a place or whatever tonight. Basically dragged this on, kept refusing to give Sasha a contract. Sasha wins the Rumble, forcing the contract, so she basically gets the match. Bring it to Mania, said we were going to do a cell match at Hell in a Cell. Instead, we're going to do it at Mania, and by that point, you'd have built the feud enough for a main event WrestleMania, and this could have I think this was so good. This could have main evented WrestleMania, and it would have been an all-time great WrestleMania main event.
It would have, yeah.
If you'd built this feud properly, and instead it's in the middle of Hell in a Cell, and didn't.
Yeah, and I mean, I was saying that as I said that as well. I mean, I was saying that like a couple weeks ago on the podcast. I mean, like, what if, like, if you want to have a Hell in a Cell match, have it at WrestleMania, you know, make it make it mean something because of how frequent Hell in a Cell matches are happening now. That like, if you were to suddenly have on a WrestleMania in an instant, it suddenly feels special. It suddenly feels like holy shit.
Yep.
Right, because it's outside of the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, which is weird to say. I don't like saying that, but you know, if they set that up, and but yeah, like, you know, I think Pete just extended my point to the group chat, but you're not wrong. You're not wrong, unfortunately.
I think that's just it. Like this was a fantastic match. I'm not going to deny it's a fantastic match. It was brilliant. I don't know whether it's the right decision or not. Obviously, it's feel good to have Sasha win. I'm not going to deny it either way, but I just feel like this should have been better in terms of just the end of a better feud, the end of a better story. And as I said, storytelling is my biggest thing, and this could have been an all-time classic people look back on for years to come and say that was unbelievable. And instead, it's probably going to get forgotten about in a couple of years' time.
It's going to be one of those great like B pay-per-view forgotten like Hell in a Cell matches. Like
Exactly.
I remember I mentioned the tag team match last week. Like nobody really talks about that. That's a fantastic Hell in a Cell match on this pay-per-view, but nobody ever really talks about that Usos and New Day.
Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens.
Another great one that has just been forgotten about. So hopefully that doesn't happen because of who it is. And it's like, if people are like saying like, oh, this is one of the greatest women's matches ever. So hopefully it doesn't get forgotten about. But
I don't think it will.
I could see it.
They kind of get forgotten as well because, as I just said, that the triple threat TLC match I just brought up, it's not like something people instantly think of. If it's on a B-level pay-per-view, matches just get forgotten.
Yeah.
If you just say like, oh, what was on the card in TLC 3 years ago, people don't really remember. If you say what was on the card in WrestleMania 3 years ago, people do.
Well, I do.
I'm not asking you to do it now. In theory, you don't remember the B-level pay-per-views.
No, you're right. You're right. You're right. No, you're absolutely right.
I think the reason I remember the Evolution match so well is because it was Evolution. Like it was like I didn't think of that really as a B pay-per-view. Like it kind of was, but it was like a first time.
It definitely was a B pay-per-view.
It was a spectacle.
Exactly. The fact that it was the first of its kind, and I mean, yes, I think by definition it was a B-level pay-per-view, but again, it's remembered because of the fact it was the first ever all-women's pay-per-view, and
I honestly think it's a disgrace they haven't done more Evolutions.
I'm surprised as well.
I don't understand.
Also, the first one was so well
received.
That's what I was after. It was so well received. The first one. How on earth you can't then just say, okay, we're going to make this, even if it's like every 2 years, but I can't believe they didn't.
Was it 2018?
2018, 2017?
I thought it was 2018. I mean, yeah, RJ's, I think, is looking it up now. I thought it would be
earlier than that. I was 20.
Yeah, it was October 28th, so 2 years ago tomorrow.
Yeah,
wow.
Okay, so I can't believe it's not been another one. It was so good.
Now, I mean, there were rumors that Evolution 2 was coming, but I mean, you never know that unless the pandemic affected it, there is no excuse. But I mean, it is what it is, and
it's the time to do it though, because it's like one of those where you'll just get the publicity for it again by saying, "Oh, we're doing Evolution 2." You'll get the publicity, you'll get a bit of hype for it, and it's not actually a bad time to do it in terms of okay, let's just throw in Evolution 2 now. Like it's this same time of year again.
Yeah.
Why not?
Let's move on. Let's move on to the main event. For the record, ladies and gentlemen, just before we go on, if you heard barking and or a loud screaming mother, I apologize. but it's live recording. That happens. It may or may not be my mother, and it may or may not be my dog. Just giving you the warning that you may have heard it. That's all.
I heard it.
It's not coming from Pete. It's certainly not coming from RJ. I'm just saying. Apartments are small.
Not coming from Stratus.
Did you say it's not Trish Stratus?
Yeah.
Oh, Trish. Oh, what a doll. What a doll. Let's move
I
on.
about to say what a dog.
No, what a doll. Oh no.
What a dog.
Oh
no.
no.
No. What a doll. What a babe. What a wonderful Hall of Famer. Not a dog.
Know. I was on Twitter the other day, and it was like, without revealing your age, like what is the first like WWE person you ever like loved or something? I'm like Trish, all day, Trish. I remember she's Canadian. She's
from
lives
Toronto,
in, like Toronto or like Newmarket or something. And I remember I'd like always drive by these big houses and be like, "Is that Trish's?"
I prefer Lita.
I love Lita too. Like, don't get me wrong, and Tori and Stacey Keebler, but Trish is my girl.
Kelly.
All I'm gonna say is I'm never gonna forget when I met Trish Stratus and we're talking about the neighborhoods in Toronto, because she was asking me what neighborhood am I a part of, like, and I'm like, oh, I'm from this side of Toronto. She's like, oh my god, no way, like. Anyways, let's move on to the main event of the evening. Let's see, the last of 3 Hell in a Cell matches. The WWE Championship, Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton. Our good old Big Daddy, Sexy Drew, much to the disappointment of all of us, lost the WWE Championship. Lost his title, the one he won at WrestleMania to close out night 2 against Brock Lesnar. The reign is over to a now 14-time Randy Orton, 14-time champ Randy Orton, who of course has now tied Triple H in reigns. So that's exciting for him. And I thought the cell match wasn't bad. I was going off Twitter. I was going on Twitter under the podcast Twitter saying, "Oh my goodness, please climb the cell. Pretty please climb the cell." Then it happened 2 minutes later, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, they're climbing the cell. Randy is climbing the cell." Which I thought was fun. I thought Drew was going to be viciously thrown off from the roof, not as he was going down, I'm like, okay, he's going to be jumping off. But for 1 second, I'm like, one side of me says, please don't throw him off. But the other side says, please do it just for our entertainment.
It's like, I trust that they're doing it safely if they get thrown off. Like, if they throw somebody off, I'm trusting that they did it safely.
Yeah,
they wouldn't do this if it wasn't safe. Like, of course.
Once I saw, I thought I noticed a bit of the crash pad like under the table, and I'm like, okay, they're gonna. I feel like this is gonna happen. So from the roof, safely throw him down, like just chuck him out.
But it's tall now.
It's tall. I know. Tall. That was my next point. It's very tall, and you have a history of Shane breaking ribs. I'm not even exaggerating. He has. I think after WrestleMania 32, when he had the cell match with The Undertaker. There were reports that he broke a rib. I can't remember if it was just one rib, but it was definitely a rib, at least one.
Oh yeah.
So I know they're not gonna do that to somebody like Drew, but oh man, that would have been cool. You don't see it, but it is freakishly tall. It is significantly taller than the original Hell in a Cell. And I was saying that had we still had the original cell today, Drew's gone. They're throwing Drew off. They're gonna throw Drew off, and they're gonna throw Drew off, and we are going to have a field day on social media. We're going to be cheering that a man is brutally hurt, but it didn't. He just got thrown midway through the cell instead, which I guess is fine.
People got thrown off the roof at Money in the Bank, so like this is totally doable these days.
Off the roof of WWE headquarters. Yes, you're right. Pete, let's start with you and your thoughts on. I know you're in mourning because I know you're out of the 3 of us. You're the out of all the guests that we've had on Under the Middle Rope, you're definitely the bigger supporter of Big Daddy Drew. Are you okay? Did you seek help?
I'm not okay.
You're not okay.
No. I'm probably going to need a minute. I'm just catching my breath at the moment. It's just a bit emotional.
Course. Do you want me to put up a 30-second countdown video for you to process this?
It might be needed.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here's a 30. Let's cut it off. All right, we're good. We're absolutely good. Pete, let's go on with your thoughts. I did not. Mike's still muted.
I'm about there now. I'm okay, I think. But this was probably the least exciting of the three matches somehow for me, even though it was maybe the most traditional of the three matches in terms of how they use the cell. They obviously ramming each other into the side of it, and obviously we were hoping for them to ram each other other ways, but that didn't happen.
Jesus Christ, no.
But
what is this place, man? Where do I come on Tuesday?
They did the classic impossible, and they managed to actually get outside the cell because that never happens in a Hell in a Cell match. They're locked in; they can't ever get out. That's the rules. Then they climb up the cell, which yay, fun! And then Orton has a lightsaber because reasons.
It was a red lead pipe, I believe, that just suddenly
it
appeared.
was 100% a lightsaber. Let's be honest.
Let's just call it what it was. There's a lightsaber.
Exactly. I kind of wish they'd done at least a few bumps on top of the cell, but they didn't really do that. Like, it doesn't have to be anything big, like a back body drop or something like.
I can also see why they're nervous too, to not do it in case that's something. One of the the top. Let's say one of the panels gives way. I can't blame them.
Yeah, it's 2020. If we don't have the engineers to do that,
exactly.
Then what are we doing on top of the cell to begin with? Like I've been in the CN Tower on a glass floor. Like if we don't have the engineers to hold the body weight, like why are we on top of that to begin with?
Like look at Hell in a Cell 2017. We had Shane and Owen, and they were just repeating like hitting moves on top of the cell.
Oh yeah, that was.
And it felt
terrifying.
That's my point. It felt tense, and you felt terrifying, even though it probably is 100% safe. And that's what I want almost at that point. And then they start to climb down, having not really done anything. And then I got myself hyped up. I got myself so hyped up when they were both on the middle of the cell because Orton started like reaching his arm across, and I went, "Oh my god, he's going to hit an RKO off the cell. He's going to hit an RKO off the cell. This is going to be unbelievable."
That's what. Yeah.
And then I realized that would mean Orton taking a big bump, and that was never going to happen.
Yeah.
So. Wait up. Like, I think I've just become so desensitized now to like that spot because that spot's happened in quite a few different cell matches now.
Yeah.
It's just if they'd hit the RKO off the side of the cell, it would have been like, oh my god, that was incredible. That's like one of the best spots I've ever seen. And instead you went with the classic. Still cool enough, but just
it feels like they like pulled back. It's like they wanted do the throw off the top of the cell, but like there's just like too much danger to it, so they're gonna do like the half bump. And I remember when they like even when Ambrose and Rollins did it like way back when, I even thought I was like, At
least they
like, go harder if you're gonna do it. Yeah, at least they both did it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
No, I was with the way that Orton positioned his body beside him in the cell. I was ready for an RKO from that side. I was like, this is about to be probably the biggest bump that we've seen in a long time. Because again, like Orton's face
like,
and all
stepping areas. Do you see that in like the middle of the cell? There's like little like platforms to stand on.
Yeah.
Like that's there so they can literally set up this type of spot so they can both jump off safely and do that spot, and then just didn't happen.
I mean, I will say,
whatever.
I feel like I think at the same time you also have to look at the dimensions of the table. Right, I mean, like the RKO, you're going from like this, from like they're parallel to like now they're like on the same height, the same like length, right? Hypothetically, if you were to do that, you have essentially from that either Orton's ass essentially landing not on the table but just directly on the floor, which could have severely gone wrong there.
Get a bigger table. Done.
You also want to give it away either. If you suddenly see a big table and the commentary, like, why is Tom Phillips?
I don't care. Just think how good that spot would look.
I know, it would look great. No, you're
right.
But
as we said, that's Orton taking a big bump, and as we all know, Orton does not take big bumps. It's just not in his repertoire. This match should not have main evented. Like Roman and Jey Uso had the biggest stakes and probably the big closing shot. The women's match had the big feel-good ending and at least had like the history to it. This was unfortunately the worst finish to a pay-per-view in history, in my opinion. Like Hell in a Cell 2019 can go and take a hike. This was worse. This was horrible. Like, how can you do this to me? How can you take that belt off Daddy Drew? I just can't handle it. It's
you're not serious, are you?
I think he's just
it's
upset.
Daddy Drew. I need him.
Okay.
I think he's just upset.
Like, they took the belt off Drew. What do you want me to do? Like, that's the worst thing you could ever possibly do. He should have held that belt until he died.
What I want you to do is not say that last year's ending was better than this one.
Of course it was, because Daddy Drew did not lose the title last year. He lost it this year. But if he needs any consoling, I'll be there for him. If it's a shoulder to lean on, a quick cuddle, a quick mounting, whatever he needs, I'll be there. But at the moment, I'm just sad. I'm a sad man who needs his Daddy Tramp Drew back.
It could have been a 5-star match with this ending, and Pete would have been like, no.
No.
Give
him that belt back. Just give him it back. It's his. He needs it.
Just call my name. I'll be there. Whoa,
I'm grieving here, Jose.
I'll be there to care for you. Oh, sorry, RJ, go on.
I thought this match was, probably, I don't know. It shouldn't have gone on last. Obviously, the only reason it did is because of the title change. Like, that must have been it. I thought that the Miz might have cashed in. Like, I was like, when it was main eventing, I'm thinking like, okay, like something's gonna happen here. Like, if they're going with Roman to lead off, and then they're doing the really good women's match in the middle, like they must have had a big finish prepared in some way. And obviously, they thought the title change was the big finish. Like, they obviously thought the shock title change was the big finish. I thought maybe we could see, So I thought we could see the Miz maybe cash in. Now I don't see that happening for a really long time, actually, personally. I think the Miz is going to hold that for a while. But I don't know. The match was fine. I like that they have like the RKO out of nowhere is like a big move, and like it could finish the match at any time. So I was caught off by surprise. All he did just hit like an RKO, and I'm like, oh, Drew's going to kick out, and he just didn't.
He didn't.
So I like Randy. So like this isn't the like I'm not as heartbroken as my friend to the top left.
Right, your top right.
Right, but I'm pointing to the left on my.
Yes. Yeah, you do have to think opposite. Yes.
So
he's out already. Okay.
As upset because I do think Randy's doing some really good work these days. But like they didn't need to give him another title reign. Like I feel like Drew on like last night on Raw, he's still involved. So I wouldn't surprise me if he won the title back right after Survivor Series, and this was just to give Randy number 14 to move closer to whatever Cena match they want to do in the future. Because he's going to get 16 before Cena gets 17 at this point, like in my opinion. And then they're going to have they're going to have 16 versus 16 at some point in time for like a vacated title. Like they need to get Randy those 16 title match, like 16 title whatever's.
I mean, I would be down for 16 versus 16. That'd be kind of sick.
I don't need to see it, but
I don't need to see it either. But I'm saying it's not
marquee match though. They definitely think that's a big time marquee match.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I grew up through Cena versus Orton, and I've
seen it enough.
I don't need more of it. It was horrible.
Whoa! I know. I'm not saying I want it, but I'm saying
it's happening.
I'd be saying that'd be kind of cool too to see 16 versus 16 at WrestleMania 40. Yo, I'm game.
Make it a triple threat with Drew in that he beats both of their asses.
There you go. There you go. Neither of them get to 17.
Yeah.
Is he moving on to a Fiend program? Like, is he going back to Drew? Like, is he gonna face Edge? Like, what is the plan with
triple threat TLC match?
Is it for both? Is it going to be like that with the Usos too? Like, are both title matches?
Maybe, but I mean, with the way the Raw concluded this past Monday night, live from the Thunderdome, I do think that Drew's obviously still pissed off. I mean, who wouldn't? The Fiend is now going after Orton because of their history. Why not? You put him in a triple threat TLC match, and then you protect the Fiend by having Orton climb the ladder and retrieving the title, so you can set him up for Edge at WrestleMania 37 in Hollywood.
But at some point in time, doesn't Orton have to have like a House of Horrors match or something like that too?
Oh, for the love of God!
But he has to though.
Do you mean Firefly Funhouse match?
Or that's what I mean. You know what? You guys know what I mean when I say House of Horrors.
No, I actually thought you meant House of Horrors. I'm like, please no.
Because obviously Orton and Bray had the House of Horrors match.
Yeah. Because like Pete said last week on the show, it's like Orton's the one that wronged him that he hasn't gotten back yet. So they did the match with Braun, they did the match with like Cena, and they've done those matches. So they kind of is it just so? What's left? We have Survivor Series, TLC, and then Rumble, or is there some other weird B pay-per-view inside
No,
there?
that's it. It's 2 more to go.
So
no Saudi shows at the moment.
Yeah.
Oh, what a darn shame.
And then another thing I'm thinking is like, did they only do this title switch just to avoid Drew versus Roman? Because I also think that's possible.
Well, I don't get that because Drew versus Roman makes way more sense to me right now than Orton versus Roman.
But I just feel like they might want to save that match for the future.
But
like when
you've
I
got
don't know.
biggest heel versus biggest heel.
I agree. I completely agree.
Doesn't seem to work.
Yeah,
That was almost one of the reasons I was almost convinced Drew was winning this match, was purely because I knew Roman was winning. I was like, well, they're not going to do Roman versus Orton because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Well,
sure.
that's what we were saying in the predictions last week. At least that was why I picked Drew. I picked Drew because I was literally saying, "Hey guys, Survivor Series is around the corner. They're obviously going to do Drew versus Roman because it's Survivor Series, brand supremacy."
But then when Miz wins, I'm thinking,
right?
and then Miz wins, and I'm like, oh, maybe Miz is going to cash in and then just get squashed by Roman, and then something else is going to happen, and then that just never happened. But no, I guess what I think Orton's going to hold the title to WrestleMania, lose to Edge, and then get cashed in on by the Miz.
Unless, as you just said, we're quite used to title changes happening the week before Survivor Series.
Yeah.
So random Fiend attack week before Survivor Series, Miz cashes in.
That's possible. That's definitely possible. Definitely possible.
But no, Edge is winning the Rumble, right?
He's got it.
I mean, that's what I said. I mean, I was saying that last year for fun. I mean, what I was saying just as the pandemic started to our group chat, RJ, for fun, I was saying, guys, the only reason why they haven't announced a Royal Rumble date is because they want to make sure they can book Toronto so Edge can come back and win the Royal Rumble.
As soon as Edge was injured, I was like, there's a very good chance he's winning this Rumble. As soon as he went off.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure.
The timeline just made sense, and now.
But can you imagine that, RJ, a Royal Rumble in Toronto?
Oh, that'd be awesome! That'd
be beautiful.
I think you're getting your hopes up a little bit.
Too much, way too much.
What I still want to see happen is Orton's champion, Roman's champion, Edge wins the Rumble and picks Roman. That's what I want to see happen.
Yeah, I like that too.
You know what? I'm done with Orton now. Swerve. I'm picking Roman, and we're going to have the Spear versus Spear match at WrestleMania.
See, I don't have a problem with that either. The Rock can't win the Rumble. Like, please, not the Rock.
Oh no, Rock should not win.
Please, not the Rock.
At least Edge is under contract. Like, I can give him that much. A complete part-timer should not be winning the Rumble.
I wouldn't mind it.
You're an idiot.
No, they don't need if they want to do that match, they don't need the Rock to win the Rumble. They don't need Edge to win the Rumble either, though. Like,
no, they don't. They don't need any of them. But I'm sorry, I would pop for either of them. I don't care about that new talent. Fetch.
I'd pop to hear the Rock's music. Like,
I would go crazy.
You know what? I would love if he was a surprise entrant and didn't win it. Like, you know how Edge was a surprise entrant this year and didn't win it. If they did the same type of thing, I would love that.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Also, if it's Rock versus Roman, I don't want it for the belt. I kind of want
just for the head of the table. That's it. Just for the head of the table.
Well, gentlemen, we will wrap it up here. I know we're having fun, but we do got to wrap it up because we also don't want to extend our. I mean, we can, but I'm just saying, like, I think this is a good time to hold it off. And at the end of the day, guys,
I'm already drinking. I've already had like 5 whiskeys just to drown my sorrows.
Jose can spend an hour with us at a time every week.
Yeah.
Jose's like, okay, we've passed an hour. Like, I've had enough of these guys. Like, let's.
Oh my God, he's going to his liquor cabinet. Okay. He's
what
gonna.
What are you drinking over there? Is that Wiser's?
What is that?
Oh, it's Jameson's.
Yes, Jameson's. Well, Pete is sad.
I needed after Jose's celebration. Just needed like something to take the edge off.
Pete is sad. RJ is sad. Jose holds the podcast title yet again. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, let's get to the closing. Thanks again, Pete. Closing. You made it to the end of the episode. You made it to the end, and it's so shiny. It's so shiny. It was literally locked up in my closet. I thought I was going to be able to hang it up in my room, and I couldn't. So it's been in my closet, so it's nice to take it out again and just say that I'm the podcast champ of my own podcast. It should happen more frequently. And I hate that I'm probably going to lose it at Survivor Series, which is why I'm just holding it. It's very nice. It's very nice to have in your possession. Next week, it's going to be another discussion. We're going to leave you hanging for now. Leave you wondering what we're going to talk about next week. So stay tuned for that. As Normally, technically by schedule, it would have been another predictions episode for AEW Fallout, but instead, we're going to opt out and switch it up a bit. We're going to be testing something new, and again, just a bit more discussion for you guys in the world of wrestling. So look out for that. And all I can say is just that. Thank you so much for watching. Become a patron, help support the podcast. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us here on YouTube. We can release the descriptions. I'm Jose Tawada. Thanks for watching, and we will see you guys next week. Have a great one. Bye.